and laid it out on the table. The carving glowed faintly under ultraviolet light, like a voice resurrected from time. James spoke first. "If this message is authentic, it means the colonists left by choice. They didn't vanish into thin air. They left a record, they left signs, and they left direction." Ava nodded slowly. "Follow beneath August moon." Maria looked up. That could mean timing. Maybe they traveled or left at night, guided by the full moon. James rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "That fits." The lunar phase on August 15, 1590, was almost full. They could have used it for navigation. The pieces fit too perfectly to be coincidence: the croatoan carving, the mysterious Dare stones, the hidden symbols in the drawing, the date tied precisely to Governor White's failed rescue. Ava traced the letters on the printed copy with her gloved finger. So if the message says to follow beneath August moon, and the Dare stones mark the way, then somewhere between Roanoke Island and the mainland there must still be physical markers. Maybe even another artifact. She looked up, her eyes gleaming with purpose. "We need to find where this drawing came from. If it was preserved in the Blackwood collection, there must be provenance records." Maria nodded, already searching. The donation paperwork said the crate came from the Blackwood estate in Wilmington. The collector claimed it was discovered hidden inside a wall during restoration work. "Then that's our lead," James said. "If we can trace its origin, we can trace the path of whoever drew it, and maybe even where the colonists went next." Outside, the storm raged on, thunder echoing like cannon fire across the sky. But inside the lab, beneath the hum of machines and the glow of discovery, three historians realized they were holding not just a piece of art, but the first tangible thread leading to the truth of America's oldest, unsolved mystery. And as lightning flashed across the window, Iva whispered the words again, barely audible over the storms. "Dare stones mark the way. Follow beneath August moon." They didn't yet know it, but those 12 words were about to lead them straight into the wilderness, and into a secret buried for more than 4 centuries. The search on Hatteras Island. 3 days later, the wind off the Atlantic carried the smell of salt and rain as the team stepped off the ferry onto Hatteras Island, the very land once called Croatoan. Dr. Ava Mitchell tightened her jacket against the sharp morning air. The island stretched before them, a shifting blend of dunes, oak thickets, and sea grass that whispered against the sand. Somewhere beneath this quiet landscape, she knew, the truth of the lost colony was waiting. Beside her, Dr. James Parker adjusted the strap on his field satchel, scanning the horizon. "According to Governor White's 1590 records," he said, checking his notes, "the tree bearing the carving stood roughly 200 yards inland from the original shoreline." He glanced at the sea, where waves rolled and broke in gray foam. But 4 centuries of erosion and hurricanes have changed everything. That shoreline could now be anywhere between here and half a mile out under the water. Professor Maria Rodriguez set up her equipment, her drone already lifting into the overcast sky. "We'll start with aerial thermal scans," she said. "If there's anything buried, metal, stone, or otherwise, it'll show up against the cooler sand layer." The 3 of them had become a strange family in the days since the discovery. Ava, the passionate historian; James, the cautious academic who had spent decades chasing fragments of truth; and Maria, the scientist who believed data could resurrect the past. They moved inland, guided by the low hum of the drone and the distant crash of waves. For hours, their metal detectors found nothing but rusted nails, fishing hooks, and modern trash. The ghosts of campers and storms. But then, just before noon, the readings began to change. Ava's detector gave a sharp, pulsing tone. "I've got something," she called out. James knelt beside her, brushing away loose sand. "Depth, about 6 feet," she said, checking the display. "And it's not iron. Composition looks like bronze or copper." Maria squinted at her tablet, comparing readings. "That fits 16th century metallurgy. If it's real, it's been down there a long time." They began to dig carefully, documenting every inch. Shovels scraped against the earth with dull metallic clinks. The deeper they went, the more the soil changed, compacted, older, untouched by modern hands. Then, after nearly 2 hours of excavation, the tip of something green and metallic emerged from the dirt. Ava froze. "Stop," she brushed gently with a gloved hand. Beneath the crust of sand and oxidation was the unmistakable curve of a bronze plaque. Even through centuries of corrosion, its engraving was still visible. Latin letters glimmered faintly under the thin beam of Maria's flashlight. James leaned close, his voice trembling as he translated aloud. "Hic veritas colonia Roanocensis icet, signatum ebis quae vitam elegerant super deditionem." Here lies the truth of the Roanoke colony, sealed by those who chose survival over surrender. Below the main inscription were smaller lines of text. James read on, his words slow, deliberate. "Sequir lapides ad libros Anglias sparso locatos." Follow the stones to find the scattered children of England. The air went still. Even the sound of the surf seemed to fade into silence. Ava felt her pulse pounding in her ears. "They're real," she whispered. "The Dare stones, they're real." Maria took high-resolution photographs, her voice shaking with awe. "Look here." The lower right corner. She zoomed in on a strange emblem engraved beneath the Latin. It was unlike anything in traditional English heraldry, a circle enclosing an arrow and a pattern of interwoven lines. James frowned. "That's not purely European design." "No," Ava said, tracing the symbol carefully. "It's part of a Native American pictograph, possibly Croatan." It was a merging of two worlds. English and indigenous artistry fused into a single symbol, a code of alliance. "They didn't just disappear," James murmured. "They joined them. They lived with them." But that wasn't all. Maria was examining the plaque's reverse side when she noticed a raised seam running across the bronze, almost invisible beneath layers of tarnish. "There's something underneath," she said. "A compartment." They used precision tools to loosen the corroded seal. Inside, packed tightly and preserved by hardened tree resin, was a small, oiled leather pouch. Ava's hands trembled as she unfolded it. Inside was another drawing, smaller than the first, but created with the same hand. The same impossible precision. The image showed the same group of armored men from the original croatoan scene, but now they were gathered around several large stones arranged in a triangular pattern. Each stone bore carved symbols, their shapes forming what looked like a map. Maria adjusted her lens, scanning the marks. "These aren't random carvings," she said. "This is geometric alignment, latitude and orientation. It's a navigation system." "They were leaving a path," Ava whispered. "A guide for anyone who might follow." James turned the drawing over. The back was covered in faded script, handwritten, elegant, almost mathematical. Maria read the words aloud. "For those who seek the truth about the children of Roanoke, the stones will guide you to 3 sanctuaries where English hearts still beat." Silence fell again, broken only by the wind rustling through the sea grass.